Hey guys, it's been a while, huh? SavXL here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, the long-awaited follow-up video to my Samsung Galaxy Tab S4 review. In this tablet, you'll find the Snapdragon 865 Plus octa-core CPU. All of the cores in this tablet are of the Cryo 585 variant, but some are clocked differently. One is running at 3.09 GHz, 3 of them are running at 2.42 GHz, and the remaining 4 are running at 1.8 GHz. The GPU is the Adreno 650 and boosts up to 670 MHz, and we have 8 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM. When it comes to the storage config, you have the choice of 128, 256, and 512 gigs. But as long as you choose a storage config above 128, you'll always get 8 gigs of RAM. If you choose the 128 gig version, you'll only get 6 gigs of RAM. But no matter which storage configuration you use, you can add up to 1 TB of external storage with the microSD card slot. For Wi-Fi, we have 802.11a, b, g, n, ac, ax Wi-Fi, which means that we have access to those Wi-Fi 6 access points. We have Bluetooth 5.0, Android 12, One UI 4.0, and Samsung DeX, which has gotten significant performance improvements since the Tab S4. The screen is a 12.4-inch Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1752 by 2800, a 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, a 16:10 aspect ratio, a pixel density of 266 pixels per inch, and a peak brightness of 430 nits. Just like the Tab S4, we have 4 speakers, 2 on each side, tuned by AKG with Dolby Atmos. And if you thought the speakers sounded great on the Tab S4, they're even clearer and louder on the Tab S7 Plus. For the cameras, we have a 26mm wide-angle 8-megapixel selfie camera that we can record up to 1080p 30fps with. And for the rear camera, we actually have a dual camera setup. We have a 26mm wide-angle 13-megapixel lens in conjunction with a 12mm ultra-wide-angle 5-megapixel lens. These cameras have HDR support as well as panorama and can record up to 4K at 30fps. Just like the Tab S4, the Tab S7 Plus comes with an S Pen. This time it charges by magnetically connecting to a marked spot on the back of the tablet instead of wirelessly. And in my opinion, it feels significantly better than the Tab S4 S Pen. It has the shape and feel of a pencil compared to the ballpoint pen feel of the Tab S4, which I prefer. We have an accelerometer, gyro capabilities, a proximity sensor, a GPS, and an optical fingerprint scanner underneath the display. Finally, we have a 10,090 mAh battery that will last about 10 hours on a full charge and supports 45-watt fast charging. Now, when it comes to my Tab S4 review and trying to gauge its performance, I only showed geometry dash levels. That's not a very good measure of performance, and I realize that now. So in order to actually convey the performance in a way that more people would understand, let's do some benchmarks. Starting with Geekbench 5, when we did our CPU benchmark, it only took a little less than 3 minutes to get our results. A single core score of 941 and a multi-core score of 2989, both of which are above the average scores for a Tab S7 Plus. Next, let's do a computing benchmark with both Vulkan and OpenCL. After 2.5 minutes for each benchmark, here are our results. An OpenCL score of 3588 and a Vulkan score of 3513, both of which are above the average for the Tab S7 Plus. Now, let's do an Antutu 3D bench stress test. After about 10 minutes or so, give or take, I wasn't keeping track for this one, the test was finished and our result was 665,015, and we defeated 50% of users. Lastly, let's do a 3D Mark wildlife stress test. Why this test specifically? Well, that's because this test was recommended for the Tab S7 Plus by the app itself. After 20 minutes, our test is finished and our results are as follows. Our best loop score was 4185, and our lowest loop score was 4141, and our stability was 89.9%. Our best and worst scores were within 44 points of each other. Now that's what I call stability. I also wanted to do a slingshot extreme test to see how this tablet scores for OpenGL, despite it saying that the Tab S7 Plus is too powerful for this specific test. Vulkan wasn't supported, so we only got an OpenGL score. After the test was finished, our score was maxed out. There's nothing more to say on this. We maxed out our score. That's awesome. Now finally, let's get into some native Android gaming. First, let's start off with Geometry Dash using the high resolution textures. I know, using GD in 2 reviews, but I'm running a pretty object intensive level here. This also gives you guys an opportunity to hear how good the speakers are. I'm screen recording this using the tablet's microphone as an audio source because GD doesn't natively support internal audio recording, and how are you supposed to hear how good the speakers are if I'm recording audio internally? Here we have an auto version of White Space by Zendergame. This level has more than 246,000 objects. You can see the real FPS counter on the top left, which represents the actual frame rate of my tablet. Contrary to popular belief, for whatever reason, Geometry Dash on mobile devices is not locked to 60 FPS. If you happen to have a screen with a refresh rate above 60, GD will recognize it and the physics of the game will be altered accordingly. Now, since this level is so object heavy, the game never actually stays super close to 120 FPS, except for certain parts like the beginning, end, and a few parts in between, like at around 73%. The game would frequently dip below 160 FPS, it even went below 30 sometimes. The lowest it got was around 24 FPS, which is less than ideal when your screen has more than 4 times the refresh rate of that. Playing this with LDM does help a bunch with the frame rate, as it should. Next, let's play some Minecraft servers. CubeCraft is one of the servers I mainly join for Skywars and Minerware. You may have noticed the little graph on the top left of the screen. That's called GPU Watch, and it's something you can enable on the more higher-end Galaxy devices. It's normally set to show up 3 separate graphs, but you can make it show one graph with all 3 of the important values like you see here. It's showing CPU load, GPU load, and the current average surface FPS. And I have it set up to where it updates immediately so we have the most current device readings. Since this server isn't just overflowing with other players, and since I'm pretty sure I have some, preset server settings from my previous devices that carried over, so it may have optimized it a little bit more, we got pretty high frame rates in the hub, and they're still really good when we enter a game. I really can't see the server giving me any sort of problems on this device. Now, let's get into a little emulation. I have New Super Mario Bros. 2 loaded on the Citra emulator. I'm using Citra MMJ for this, at 2x resolution. The game will occasionally stutter when it has to load in a new object, texture, or animation, but once it's been loaded in and cached, the next time it needs to be loaded, the stutter will either be non-existent or next to nothing. This game looks pretty nice at 2x resolution, and if I wasn't recording, it could run at 3x pretty solidly. Apart from the occasional stutter, this game runs flawlessly at 60 FPS most if not all the time. Lastly, we have Sonic Heroes on the Dolphin emulator, upscaled to 2x resolution, 720p. Like with New Super Mario Bros. 2, it can be upscaled to 3x resolution at 1080p, but stutter and slowdown happens a little more frequently, especially when trying to screen record. At 2x resolution, however, the game rarely stutters. It'll stutter when loading the title screen or when having to load multiple characters at the same time, but that's common, so it's a non-issue. Either way, it's the same story as with the last game. It runs extremely well at 720p 60 FPS and looks really good. GameCube in some cases can be a little harder to run than 3DS, but with a little configuration, you can get it working really, really well.
This must be an automated energy plant.
Energy plant? So that's energy flowing through those red pipes. Yeah! Yo! What's with this path? Just standing on it carries me forward. Yeah! Level up! We're not going there, are we? Yes, we are! Take this! Got it!
That was great!
Take this! Go!
All in all, this is an extremely good tablet, and definitely one of the most powerful Android tablets out there. Definitely the most powerful one that I own at the time of me recording this video. The price is a little up there, being $900 on Samsung's official website, but I've seen some on eBay going for $600, $500, and some as low as $450. Some of them are even unopened. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you never miss an upload, even though I upload super infrequently. Don't worry guys, it's not gonna be this way forever. If you guys wanted to see more emulation, I'll make a dedicated emulation testing video on the Tab S7 Plus if this video gets 30 likes. I know I set a similar goal for my Tab S4 review and I never did it, but to be completely honest, the games that I emulated here would not be running anywhere near as well in Tab S4 as they are in here. It would just be a bunch of me endlessly trying to tweak settings, a bunch of small settings at that, to try to have a stable frame rate. That wouldn't be fun to watch or to make, but since things seem to be a lot better on here, I'm ready and willing to make that dedicated video now. Remember, 30 likes. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Mario number 1.